Welcome back. Empowering women. Empowering women was and is still one of the state priorities, and in the last decade the Egyptian women had more participation on all levels, whether in our political arena, in our social life, in our economic arena. But is it enough, or it's only one step in a long journey? The sky is the limit? The answer is yes. But we are going to discuss it more with my dear guest, Dr. Mariam Waheed, Assistant Professor of Political Studies at Cairo University. Thank you very much for being with us, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
As I said, of course, we should confess and we should admit that there is a better participation of women in our political arena, in specific in the last decade. But also, as I said, is it enough, or it is only a step in a long journey?
Actually, Egypt has witnessed a huge increase in the number of women in the decision-making power centers in a lot of fields, in all the three branches of government, the executive branch and the legislative branch and the judicial branch of government. So we started since 2014. We had a new constitution in Egypt that stated that women should be more well presented in those three main branches, specifically the legislative branch, that women should be represented more and more. But in the 2019 amendments, it was clearly stated that women cannot take less than 25% of the seats in the House of Representatives. So percentage of women increased massively, and it was not only like the numbers, but also it was a substantial increase. And that was enforced and manifested by a lot of changes in the Egyptian society, and also due to the political will and the political will of the government.
And just before shooting, you told me that you made a paper in specific about this participation of Egyptian women in our parliament. I should seize this opportunity and ask you more about this study and about the results and the recommendations, because I'd like to know more.
Yes, this paper is about women's representation in the House of Representatives, in Egypt's House of Representatives, in the period from 2014 till 2020, and from 2020 till 2025. So there was an increase in women in the parliament, women parliamentarians in the different governorates, not specifically in one governorate, from different educational backgrounds, from different political affiliations, so that was an increase in women. So we have now nearly 26% of women in the of the whole parliament in the House of, yes, MP, member of parliament in the House of Representatives. And this was also, the paper was trying to figure out what were the constraints and obstacles in front of women that made them not participate. So one of them was the idea of quota system, because in Egypt we did not have a specific quota for women, and so due to the 2019 amendments of the constitution, so that was a change. And this also, so without the quota we did not have except like 1.5 or 2% of women in the parliament, due to a lot of reasons. Of course, women started to vote in Egypt in 1950s.
This is awareness, or it's a culture, I may call it this way, and if so, is it changing?
Yes. So Egypt was actually one of the first Arab countries to give women the right to vote. And in 1957 we had the first two women parliamentarians in the parliament, Rawi Atiyah and Amina Shukri. That was in 1957. But in a lot of years, during a lot of decades, we didn't witness this massive increase in the number of women. Due to cultural constraints, as you said, because like, the idea of stereotyping that women will not be capable to be effective as women in the parliament, as women parliamentarians. But right now we can see that actually the society is perceiving more and more that perception is it's okay that women can be members of parliament. They're actually changing a lot of laws supporting women's rights, and not only that, like we'll have women parliamentarians only for women's rights. It's for the whole society.
Dr. Mariam, out of curiosity, in your paper, have you collected some data about the age of the women or the beauties we have in our parliament?
Yes, of course, this was not a statistical about the percentage of all women parliamentarians in terms of the age group. But of course, we have very young parliamentarians. We have from all generations.
All age categories. But I think the representation of youth is also very important, and it could be found easily as one of the positive sides of the coin, if you agree with me on that.
Yes.
Because it's having both empowering women and youth in the same time, all in one.
Yes, of course, the Constitution also stated that there will be empowerment of youth and empowerment of women. So when we have a young female being active as a woman parliamentarian, also we have examples of women parliamentarians actually representing Egypt abroad and being very active in the Interparliamentary Union of all countries around the world. So we have very important names right now actually representing Egypt and also representing Egyptian calls for having a better future and having cooperation between different countries, and also speaking about the different fields, because representation...
This was my coming question regarding different fields and education in specific, because since Dr. Aisha Ratib, Dr. Latifa Zayat, I mean, we do have names who were source of enlightenment, if I may describe them in two words. And now it's easy to find a dean of a faculty, a head of department, and stuff like that, women, and you can find the percentage even more than men in certain places and in certain colleges. How do you see this, and how do you see taking all the time into consideration how skillful this human being is? It's not about his gender anymore.
Yes, so in a lot of fields we see women as pilots, even women engineers in a lot of fields. So I've recently read an article about a young female engineer, and she had a very nice project about biogas and actually renewable energy, like instead of the old energy sources as the natural gas, or so trying to use biogas. So this is actually very good for the environment, and a lot of also young entrepreneurs and also students actually presenting projects of renewable energy. So that's really interesting and society.
Yeah, and when we do have a big event or a big initiative, state initiative, you are going to find the volunteers. I'm not going to say girls and boys, young men and young ladies, and those who are responsible on the ground of implementing these initiatives. So even as you've kindly mentioned, when it comes to even students, we can find that the participation of women is very much tangible on the ground. If you want to also elaborate on that.
Yes. So women, we have a lot of initiatives actually made by women to volunteer at hospitals, to volunteer in the different aspects of life, and to even work not only in the public sector, in the private sector, and also in all fields, and presenting new projects that are beneficial to society. Also women in NGOs, there also we have a lot of women having also very good initiatives for the society, and for so women in the grassroots, and also women in the decision-making process, women as female ministers. We've witnessed in Egypt a lot of female ministers, also advisors to the president, so that's governors. So in the executive branch and also in the judicial branch, for the first time in 2021, we've seen women as judges in the State Council and the public prosecution. So this is actually, all of this took place after 2014 and the Constitution and the coining 2017 as the year of Egyptian women. And if we can talk about the private sector also, women.
This is another issue, entrepreneurship and small micro and macro projects, and how they are now included into a big umbrella. I mean, financial inclusion, and taking into consideration, as I'm always saying, that any economy cannot depend only on mega national projects, but the small and medium projects are also very important, and the participation of women in that is also very important.
Yes, because this is actually one of the main pillars of the national strategy of Egyptian women of economic empowerment. So besides political empowerment and social empowerment, economic empowerment and social protection, like programs. So there's a support for women in industry, in business, and there's a huge increase in women as chief executive officers of big companies, and so women in management, like breaking the glass ceiling effect, that's women in the workforce, because it's more of imaginary borders in front of women to be in top management. It's more related to like imaginary or false ceilings. It's not a real barrier. So more and more women are breaking this glass ceiling and getting in top management, and there's a support for women to be in what they want, and also what their capabilities. Yes.
But I cannot say that now it's that rosy and there is no problems or obstacles on the way. In your opinion, what are the most important challenges are still facing women to achieve more in this regard?
Of course, there's still challenges. The cultural constraint is still there in specific areas. So it's not, or I'm not talking about specific governorates, but maybe in some places the culture does not empower women so much, and actually the role of family is very important in that. So education and the role of family and socialization, that you see more and more women in a lot of fields actually getting empowered, and even we see women, young women traveling abroad and getting scholarships in the big universities around the world and taking leading positions.
And in very distinguished specialties, by the way. But Dr. Mariam, also, I cannot neglect that there are some initiatives which were launched by the state appealing to the Egyptian women and directed to the Egyptian women. Breast cancer early detection, for example, health insurance, this stuff, making sure that she should feel that she is now being taken care of, that she is the role model, that she is the core of the family. How do you see the impact of such initiatives to encourage women more to be integrated more into our society and to practice more roles?
There were a lot of initiatives in the health sector, in education, empowering women to get educated, and also, as you said, the breast cancer initiative. There were other initiatives also, like Takaful and Karama, Decent Life, and this was a huge support for women in different governorates. So all of these projects actually helped women more and more, and there are more also projects taking place right now and to support women in getting more rights, because the state is giving more and more rights for women, not only in one aspect, so in all the pillars of the national strategy of Egyptian women.
About also the civil society or the NGOs who can play such another big role. The state is playing a role, the private sector is playing the role, but also the civil societies should be more involved more into the progress of this society and serving this community. If you want to elaborate on that too.
There are specifically a number of women organizations, but I just try to broaden it because actually like cultural NGOs should also have an aspect of women in their policies, and that's related to something called gender mainstreaming. It's a new policy adopted by the UN and a lot of countries around the world, that you should, when you make any policy, you should tailor it to a large extent also to be responsive to women's needs. And for example, I'll tell you an example of gender-sensitive parliaments. In European countries right now, they're talking about the gender-sensitive parliament. So trying to make voting for till 7 p.m. only. So no sessions after 7 p.m. or no voting for any legislations after 7 p.m. because women parliamentarians deserve to spend time with their families, and having nurseries actually at nearby the parliaments also to give women more rights. So because actually the parliaments before they were only for males, but now they're more.
You know that the Paris Olympic Games are going to have nurseries there in the Olympic Village to make sure that all those participating or the coaches or stuff like that, they're going to make sure that their kids are okay?
Yes, sure. That, and I didn't mention actually women as in the different sports. Actually, women, we have champions in a lot of different sports, and actually they achieved a lot during the last period as well.
And inshallah, we're going to congratulate them after they return back from Paris, inshallah. Dr. Mariam, I enjoyed my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
We were very much delighted to have with us Dr. Mariam Waheed, Assistant Professor of Political Science at Cairo University. Right after the short break, I'm going to return back with more, so stay tuned.